Hi everybody. I'm going to do an R warm-up, and I'm using the Mac, whoops, but you can use the Windows the same way. I'm using R version 3.3.1, but it's pretty consistent throughout the versions that you use. And this is good for whatever course you're taking, so it should be a lot of fun. Okay, so let's just start with the very basics. You can use R as a giant calculator. 3 plus 7 is 10. Woo. Okay, that's way too simple. We like to use vectors. So if I use 1:10, that's going to generate a sequence of integers from 1 to 10. The colon sets it up as a sequence of integers, so that's pretty good. And it will actually run, say, from -5 to 5. So you can have negative values in it. You could do the other direction from 5 to -4. And if you put in something like this, where you have decimal values, it will actually start with the lowest value and run it up to the closest of the highest values. So you see it started at 4.2, increased in increments of 1, and brought it up to the closest, which happened to be 8.2. Okay, so the colon is very useful. Now everything in R is an object. So if I look at what I've done right now, I'm going to use a command called the str, which is the structure. Okay, that tells me what kind of an object it is. So if I look at the structure of 1 through 10, that tells me it's an integer. If I look at the structure of this, it tells me it's a numeric. All right, so every object has some kind of a structure involved with it. It might be a data frame, it might be a function, but you're going to see if you run a structure on anything, it will have some kind of class or a mode or something like that. Okay, which is as it should be. All right, so most of the time we're going to be running functions on things, which is fine. R has a lot of random number generators, and we use those a lot, and you'll see those a lot. The favorite one is called rnorm, and that's your normal random variate generator. Don't worry about the code. But so it's a function. The n is the number of variates that you want to generate. The mean defaults to 0, and the standard deviation defaults to 1, which is your regular standard normal probability distribution. Okay, for those of you in 3309, we'll get to that a little later, but that's one of the very typical ones that we deal with. Okay, so if I were to look at the str of that, it's going to say it's a function, and it returns the first part of the arguments. All right, now one of the things that you need to do is get in libraries or packages from the main mirrors of R. So how are you going to do that? And one of the things that my classes are going to have to do is install a library called Plyr. So I'm going to say install packages, Plyr, and it's going to ask you to install a crayon mirror. And it's going to give you a lot of options, okay? And you do not, under any circumstances, you do not want to use the HTTPS. Those are evil. Okay, so scroll down. You want to use the HTTP mirrors. So click on OK. And you want to scroll down. Here's some advice. Get ones in the United States, please. Typically, you want to use the one in Texas. And click on that, and it'll come back and it'll give you some funky message like that. Okay, so that's all you have to do to install a package. Once you have it in there, you want to actually have it available for use. So you say library plier. Okay? Now, notice when you use the install, you have quotes around it, but when you actually access it, you do not use the quotes, and that's as it should be. So that's all right. Okay? One other thing, from time to time, your instructors might give you a function to bring in. For example, some of my students are going to bring in some functions that I give them. So one of the ones that I give them is going to be called FREQ_PLOT. Now, what are you going to do? Well, excuse me, and this is true when you're bringing in data sets as well. You need to see what directory you're in. So you're going to type in this function, get WD, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. And I'm on my Mac, so it tells me what directory I'm in. So when I want to save my function, I want to put it in this, or excuse me, when I want to read in my function, I want to bring it into this directory, that users em Hodges. So it's going to be different for whatever directory you are in. So you put it into that directory. Then to bring it in so you can use it, you're going to say source, and then the one that I'm going to give them is this particular name, and your instructor will give you the name. Okay, and that's what you need to do. So that's how you bring functions in from the outside. You use the source command, but make sure it's pointed to the right directory. Okay. Similarly, if you have data files from the outside, you're going to do the same thing with the get working directory. Make sure you put them in the correct directory. We had some trouble with that on the on some of the finals, and in one of the finals that I gave in the summer. Okay, what else do we need to do? Let's say you want to create some of your own vectors because it's fun. So you're going to put in something like X. Now you don't want to use the equal sign. I'm old school. So what are you going to use? You're going to use the less than followed by the dash. You put them together, no space. And then you might say something like lowercase c, open parentheses, 1, 5, 7, 8, close paren, hit equal. So it's not going to say anything back to you. It'll just give you that prompt of the greater than. If you type in X and hit return, it will tell you what's in there. Okay, so that's pretty good. So if you want, let's say for argument, I wanted to change that 7 to a 9. So that's the third element. So I would say X, open square bracket, 3, close square bracket. And sometimes you'll hear that less than dash referred to as assigns. So I'm going to say X element 3 assigns 9. And then if I type in X again, oh yeah, see it changed? And that's as it should be. All right? So those are the things that you want to do. Now, here are some things that you don't want to do. Do not. Okay? And the comment symbol in R is the pound sign, the hashtag, if you will. Do not. Name your variables. C, T, Q, F. Let's see what else. DF. Data. Terrible things will happen to you. You'll have trouble. Those are actually names of functions. When you go to use the function the next time, it won't be able to find it. Okay? Now, what if you're tired and you want to get out of R? You're going to use quit, or my fault, Q, open paren, close paren. It's going to ask you if you want to save or not, save your workspace. Now that's going to save all the variables. Okay? That's up to you. Some people like to save their stuff. Some people don't. That's a personal preference. I actually like to save my stuff. One other thing, if you save it, then it will save your functions as well. Otherwise, you'll have to source it back in every time you come in. A quick note, if you're using this on the school computer and you bring in functions, every time you use that, you're going to have to bring it back in, okay? Because of the school doesn't, on the school computers, it's going to erase that function every time you you sign off. So make sure either you save it to a file or something like that. Now, let me give you a little clue. Let's just say for argument you're on the school computer and you want to save it. You want to save it to a flash drive or something. So you want to save what's called the workspace. So you're going to put in save.image and you're going to say file equals, and you want to give it a good name. So you may want to say like maybe the date or something like that. So August 27. And then, you know, you'll point it to your drive, whatever it happens to be. Then when you load it back in, when you come back in, you'll say load file equals August 27, and you'll have it. Okay, again, that's more of a big deal if you're using a school computer, or if you get halfway through and you just want to make sure what you're doing is saved. That's not a bad idea as well. Okay, all right, this is enough to keep you going. To quit, as I mentioned, you're going to say Q, open paren, close paren, hit return. Now on the Mac, it's going to look like this. It'll look a little bit different on the Windows. It's still going to ask you the same questions. I'm going to say save, and then it's out. Okay? Let me know if you have any more questions. Thanks.